All right, everyone. Notice the tone there straight away. Tony's hitting my stall out nice and early. It's usually, all right, everyone, how we doing? Brand new week, let's get going. Today it's, all right, everyone, how are we? Tough weekend. Saturday was very, very grim. We're going to chat about it, don't worry. We can hopefully offer you some soothing words. Well, I can certainly try. Tony's more versed in that kind of thing. How are you, first of all?
It's like the brothers grim today, I think, to be fair, Hamish, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm okay, all things considered, but it's wasn't good, was it, at the weekend? Let's be honest.
Yeah. I was saying to you just before there, I must admit I'm starting to get a wee bit worried. In fact, more than a wee bit worried about the way this season is going. I think up until this point, I've probably kind of tried to put a bit of a brave face on it, and I'm not conceding anything at this stage. I mean, it's still early, and I still have a good bit of belief in the players to get it right and the manager to get it right. But I must admit, I'm kind of struggling right at this moment. Having watched that at the weekend, it felt very much to me. It didn't feel to me like that was a team that's going to go and win the league. That kind of performance.
No.
It felt like a really kind of an awful afternoon, to be honest. And I'm kind of struggling right at this moment to see any positives about this team. Is that how you feel?
Oh, totally. We came on the after-match briefing and we weren't positive at all. But I think what's concerning, Hamish, is that you see it play from the Motherwell game, really, haven't you? Since the concession of the last-minute equaliser against Motherwell, they've not really played. He turned up for 45 minutes against St Johnstone because they get a half-time rocket. But you're watching the same game, aren't you? From the Motherwell game, certainly from what I'm from what my eyes are seeing. And as you say, I think it is time to, if you weren't worried before, you're certainly worried now. You're bang smack in the middle of a title race, whether you want to accept that or not. Rangers are rejuvenated under Clement. They're starting to get results. You can argue the toss about how good a team they are, but that's and what kept you at arm's length was that you were getting results. Celtic are now not
Yeah.
getting results, and it's shown. And as you say, Saturday didn't fill you with any optimism or hope moving forward. At this moment in time, there's still plenty of
Yeah.
time to rectify it. As you say, the players and the manager can rectify this, but it is worrying. You can't escape that. It is worrying.
Hazel saying, I think that will shock the team and the manager into action. Keep the faith. Might need to get you on here, Hazel, at some stage later in the season to cheer us up. I hope
Indeed.
you're right. I certainly hope you're right. Yeah, I mean, the worry for me is like how many kind of false dawns we've had so far this season and how many matches we've had that we've come away and already I've only been doing this 2 weeks and I think we've had about three of these already, genuinely, when I've come
Yeah.
on and I've said to you or Ryan, oh, is that the game? Is that the turning point? Is that the one that we won? And that's the real moment where we kick on. And like we should have had them. I mean, the St Johnstone one you mentioned was the perfect one away from
Yep.
home. We're losing. We come back to win that one 3-1. Great second half performance. You're thinking that's the one. We'll kick on now. And I think it was Hibs after that, wasn't it? We were
Yeah.
pretty good that night at home. And you're thinking, right, come on. Then obviously Kelly happens, and then last week Feyenoord again felt like possibly a game, that could really kick us on domestically, even though it was a European fixture. And then you watch that at the weekend, and that's always a concern for me that when you're not kicking on from these moments where you really think you should be, it kind of suggests to me that there is something deeper there at the club that's badly wrong. There clearly is. I mean, you don't go
Yeah.
from being a treble winning team to a team who has lost two league games in a row. We didn't even do that in the COVID season, Tony. Lose two
Yeah.
league games in a row, and we've done it now. So, and I know a lot of people are comparing it to the COVID season, and I guess that's kind of obvious because we don't have many bad seasons to actually look back on in recent years. So it's an obvious comparison. I don't know if it really matters, to be honest, but to me, while things haven't obviously got to that stage yet, it does have certain similarities in the kind of meek performances and the nature of the games. I mean, that game on Saturday, like when it went 2-0, I just didn't ever really have any hope of us getting back into it. And that comes off the back of a team for the previous 2 seasons that if we'd have gone 2-0 down to Hearts last season, I guarantee we'd have come back and won that game under the previous manager. And it's pretty much the same players. I know we're missing some, I know we've signed some new ones, we've lost a couple. So there's something wrong, isn't there?
That's the difference, isn't it? You would have had every faith in Celtic coming back from 2-0 last season, turned into a 4-2 or a 5-2. The minute Kingsley slaps that ball into the net, I don't know what you thought, but I texted Ryan and said, game over. Didn't want to, but I just knew this team didn't have it in them to come back from that. And like I've used the phrase a couple of times, but to Ryan, and it's kind of Shakespearean Hamlet phrase, but there's something rotten in the state of Denmark. But you're right, there's something wrong here. Yeah. And it's something that you can only wildly speculate about. And that's what it is. And then you go on social media and you're hearing all sorts, but there's something not right at the club at the minute. And whether that's the manager or the players or whatever, as I say, you're widely speculating, but you're trying to look at it, aren't you, and trying to connect the dots and see what you think it's wrong. But Saturday, you just knew that was a team that just, I don't know what the instructions were, Hamish, and I was certainly even more baffled by the substitutions when they were made, trying to bring yourself back into a game and playing players out of position and taking off players that might have got you back into a game. So I think it was just a kind of disjointed shambles from beginning to end, to be honest.
Yeah, it's hard to put your finger on exactly what it is at the moment. Like from the outside, it seems like everything is going wrong. Yeah. I mean, genuinely, when I say at the start that I'm struggling for kind of any real, positives, any kind of ray of sunshine in there that could really kind of kick us on. And that's not to say that won't come, and I do still have a certain amount of belief that there's something in there, that all of these players don't turn into bad players, and Rodgers hasn't turned into a bad manager, but it just looking at it right at this stage, there's I don't know, but like to me, Brendan Rodgers just like he doesn't seem to have that same aura that he had in his first spell here.
The question that would put to him about, was it a surprise that the team played like that? I think it was in the BBC. I mentioned it yesterday when I was talking to Ryan, and he said, "No, really." That really struck alarm bells in me, Fraser. He was saying that it's his job to motivate the players and inspire them. And if you can't do that as a manager, then you're kind of admitting yourself, aren't you, that I'm not doing my job. And that comment really got to me on Saturday. When after it, I was kind of like, okay, I get that you can have bad days, and it was a bad day, but when he said it didn't surprise him, I'm like, well, why is it not surprising you? You shouldn't be sending a team out and thinking, if it comes together, great. If it doesn't, then shrug of the shoulders type stuff. It's his job to do something about that, and that worried me more than anything about Saturday. The after-match comments when he was asked, did it surprise you? And he went, not. That word, not, and I was like, wow. Yeah. And I've been quite lenient with Brendan Rodgers up until now, but he's not exempt from criticism, and he has to bear a big brunt of what's happening now. Because as you say, these guys aren't poor footballers, but there's so many things. So there's such a disconnect now, and the disconnect's not only in the fans and the board and stuff. The disconnect seems to be happening in the team now, because there are certain players just not functioning.
Yeah, fair amount of agreement with you, in terms of that point on Rodgers, and it's fair to say that I think he as a manager he escaped a lot of the criticism for the Champions League stuff. I think the overall assessment was, rightly or wrongly, that he was kind of doing about as well as you would expect him, given what the recruitment was like in the summer. Domestically, it seems to be a bit different, and the argument from what I'm hearing and seeing seems to be that regardless of the recruitment in the summer, he inherited a treble winning team, and is well, under his watch we've become a team that is like just dire to watch. I mean, I don't, and I know I will probably get in trouble for harking back to the previous manager because I'm like his number one fan, and you know everyone knows that. But it's the obvious thing you do, and it's like last season, every single match I was buzzing. I couldn't wait to see Celtic in action. I just loved watching that team. You know, the enthusiasm they had for the game, their never say die attitude, their relentlessness to just game after game last season, especially just to keep winning. And this season, like those three things just aren't apparent at all. And like I love Celtic, and I always look forward to Celtic games. But the team at the moment, I have no actual excitement to watch the team.
No.
I'm excited to watch Matt O'Reilly because I think he's having a stormer of a season. Maybe tailed off a little bit in recent weeks, but you know I'm excited to watch him. But other than that, like there was so many players last year I would look at and I'd go, I can't wait to watch, you know, Jota. I can't wait to see what Kyogo's doing, and even like the defenders like Carter Vickers and Greg Taylor and Alistair Johnson. None of those guys, you know, really hold much excitement for me this season, and it's such a shame. I just wonder if, you know, there was such a kind of fall off from Postecoglou and everything he demanded of the players, and I just wonder if it's different under Rodgers and maybe they miss that intensity. I don't know. I'm just kind of looking from the outside,
spitballing basically.
Yeah.
No, I get that, and of course it's different. Every manager wants to put their stamp on things, but as we've touched upon as well, you look at the regression in a lot of your players. Greg Taylor regressed. Alistair Johnson has regressed. You know, excuse me, Matt O'Reilly's probably the only one under Brendan Rodgers that has gone forward.
Yeah. No, probably about it. He's the only one. Yeah.
Kyogo regressed.
Mm-hmm.
You can add A and others into that list if you want. And I think also Brendan Rodgers made a habit of saying a lot that he needs quality. I don't think it's a ringing endorsement of the players that he has in the team at the minute. So those players know that deep down the manager believes they're not good enough. And that's fair comment. But he still has to get a tune out of them. But if they're reading those kind of messages and signals from the manager, then it's hard to get a tune out of them, isn't it, when he turns to you and says, I need you to do a job here. If they think, well, you don't actually rate me, which is kind of the subtext to a lot of what Brendan Rodgers is saying at the minute, isn't it? Going back to the summer recruitment, which has been shown up to be exactly what it was, diabolical. But then the manager's changed his tune on that. He said he works with the players that Mark Lowell provided when he first came in. And then at the AGM, he said he signed off on them all. So I don't believe that for a second. I think he was prompted to say that at the AGM. But again, at the AGM, there was many things said that smug people in suits were laughing and having pops at your rivals. They're not laughing now. And you and I are sitting here discussing this and nobody's laughing at this minute in time, are they?
Yeah, I mean, you look back at the summer and people bring up the recruitment, but I mean, like, signing, you know, these kind of fringe players who haven't made an impact, that really shouldn't affect Kyogo and Callum McGregor and Alistair Johnson and Greg Taylor, who have all regressed this season. They're all not playing at the level they were last season. That shouldn't be a product of signing these fringe players as far as I see it. I mean, I get that, you know, signing a lot of kind of from the outside poor signings in the summer is going to do more harm than good for us. But like the players who were still there last season, the fact that they're not playing at the same level suggests that Rodgers has a part to play in this as well. And again, like,
he does.
How do we kick on? Do we need we do need fresh blood in January, but like with the likes of McGregor and you know, Alistair Johnson and Kyogo, like how, like these guys have been off form now for like a good few months, I would say. It's not just a few matches, it's like, and we know how good they can be.
And you look at what the manager said. The manager said he read the riot act at St Johnstone. He would have read the riot act after Kilmarnock. And on Saturday, he said it's not good enough for any Celtic team or a Celtic player. He said the same thing, like the last three games. So he's not getting a tune out of these guys, is he?
But does he have that same fear factor that Postecoglou had? I don't think he does.
Clearly not. Clearly
He's not a bad manager. He's clearly not a bad manager, Rodgers. He's achieved great things in his career, but I just don't get. I don't think he has that intensity and that fear factor that Postecoglou had. And I know that shouldn't be everything. The players should still be able to go out and just work under a different regime. But I just wonder if that's part of it as well. I don't know.
It's possible, Hamish, but again, you look at the two teams, the way they played. It is night and day now, isn't it? And I know you don't want to hark back to the last manager, but I mean, Brendan Rodgers inherited that team minus what? Jota, Starfelt, and Aaron Moy, yeah, but Moy was always kind of coming to the end. So, but it's more or less the same team, isn't it? I know you can say that those guys are big misses, but so, and every manager wants to do things differently. But as you say, turning a potent goal scorer like Kyogo into a bit part player. I mean, there was a stat on Saturday going that he touched the ball 4 times in the first half.
Yeah.
Celtic at 73.
I don't even remember the 4, genuinely.
Neither do I. And the thing about it is, he was touching the ball 4 times in the first half under Ange Postecoglou, but 2 of them were those runs into the box and he was scoring. Yeah. So that's the big difference. And he's not doing that now. And there's, as you said at the start, there's so many things wrong now at the club. And you turn around and you say to yourself, is it then? Is it the manager? You have to ask that question, don't you? Particularly, and I'm a big Brendan Rodgers fan. I wanted him back. I still think he has time to turn this around, but has to turn it around soon. It'll become a crescendo, Hamish, if Celtic don't beat Livingston on Saturday.
I'm already looking at the derby, but I'm wrong to do that. I mean, Livingston are the worst team in the league. They've not scored a goal in over 10 hours of football, and I have no faith in us beating them. I genuinely don't know what I'll turn up and watch on Saturday.
That tells its own story then, if you're feeling like that, because you're quite an optimistic Celtic supporter, I would say, right?
If people are watching me for the first time today, they'll be going, no, he's not. Dear, oh dear.
Yeah,
you've had a reaction to get your thoughts across. This is my first video, so I'm just fed up. Course.
Yeah, and you're fed up, and the thought of playing Livingston on Saturday is filling you with a bit of, the collywobbles. That says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, why have they allowed themselves to get into this position? So, questions have to be asked of everybody now, don't they? Everybody. And you have to take collective responsibility here, the manager included, and the manager more than MD.
Like that first Brendan Rodgers, he was magic. Those 3 years. I know we dropped points. I know we lost lots of games, by the way. Like the Kelly away game. Like I know he had results like that in his first tenure. I don't remember many like Saturday though at home. I don't remember him losing many games at home. Certainly that mattered. I remember one against Aberdeen on Trophy Day, but other than that. But like that kind of sparkling, charismatic, all-conquering manager from the first spell, I just don't see him. And I saw him briefly after we won at Ibrox when he was hanging out of the car with his hand out and stuff like that. And I loved that. I know that was a bit of a joke and folk were kind of clipping the photos and the videos and posting them online and all that, but that was Brendan Rodgers, that kind of like as I say, all-conquering, fearless, cocky manager. And I know you want your manager to be respectable, and he is, but like I've just not seen that side of him. He just kind of looks like resigned to this season, kind of going off track, and I just don't get the impression that he's going home. I could be badly wrong here on Saturday, and that's absolutely ruining his weekend. I just kind of feel like he probably almost has a bit of belief that he thinks, I'll win this league. We're not great at the moment, but we'll come back and win the league. The league's a lot stronger. Certainly our main rivals are stronger than during his first spell. That's not to take it away from any of the amazing achievements he had in his first spell. An amazing team, loved him. But the competition is greater for the title this time. And we can't afford to drop more points before the end of the year. And I think that derby at the end of the year, it's certainly a must not lose. If we lose that, I mean, if you think this is bad, things are going to get horrendous if we lose to Rangers. But I think we really need to be looking to win that game now. And at the moment, I don't have faith. But maybe things can change quickly, Tony. We know that.
Of course, they've got 3 games now over what you would call the festive period, haven't they? 23rd against Livingston, Boxing Day Dundee, and Rangers on the 30th. Nothing less than 9 points is acceptable for Celtic, but you don't have faith in them getting 9 points, do you?
Not
At
really.
all.
At
all.
No. I mean, if we get 9 points, I think we're back, probably feeling pretty good about things. But
yeah, of course.
We don't,
yeah. And the thing is, it could start again on Saturday if they don't get full points against Livingston on Saturday. And we've seen teams like St Johnstone come, who were poorest team in the league when they turned up the first time. Celtic drew 0-0. We've seen Motherwell, a wretched record. They came to Celtic Park, scored a last-minute equaliser for a 1-1 draw. So these things fill you with the fear, don't they? You think to yourself, well, other teams have done it, and certainly they're starting to know how to play against Celtic. But it's you can't escape from it. It is a worrying time. You hesitate to hit the word crisis, but it will reach crisis point if Celtic don't win on Saturday. And even a win Saturday against Livingston isn't any kind of corner turned, I think you say. Yeah. We don't want to look too far ahead, but you're looking at that Rangers game now that it's become huge in terms of context of your season.
I mean, Callum McGregor must be going around, going, come on, guys, this is not Celtic. This is not how we play. I
know he had the on pitch kind of.
Yeah, what did you make of that?
Didn't you? You can look at it 2 ways, can't you? You can look at it, great, he's getting ripped into them before the manager has his say and playing a captain's part, or you can look at it as the former Hull manager, Phil, whose second name I can't remember, and was giving it all that.
Brown.
Remember? Brown, yeah. So, but it's wise after the event. You've just lost 2-0. So
yeah,
all the kind of talking after is not going to change the situation. You had your chance to retrieve it and change it there, and I get that. Yeah, people say good. At least he's not taking it lying down. But he's another one we've spoke about there about regression. He's not hit the levels that's required, so include himself in that too. But I mean, but the only positive we have, Hamish, is that there's still time to rectify this. Mm-hmm. That's the only, silver lining that I can see at this minute in time, that it's not irretrievable.
And it's in our hands.
Yeah, so that's the only thing. If you want to bang the kind of keep the faith drum and all that kind of stuff, but they really do have to get their act together and quickly.
Yeah, I mean, the chat is absolutely bouncing today. Everyone loves a bit of pain, don't they? Pain is a good friend sometimes. And there's a few people pointing out, we're still top of the league. Obviously that's true, but I think it's just a general feeling of the way things are going. And we are top of the league, but it's almost a wee bit false at the moment in that we're 5 points clear, but we've played a couple of games more. I think Rangers have their first one this midweek at home to St Johnstone.
I believe, yeah.
You would think it'd be down to 2 and they would still have a game in hand. So that's where we're at the moment. I've just picked out a few comments. There's so many of them I could, but Maestro, he has to work with what he had and he knew the style. He said he had watched us. That's Rodgers, of course, said that hadn't missed a Celtic game since he left the club. I think a few people questioning that now, given the way some of our key players from recent seasons have been playing. Jerry saying he stands on touchline like a man that doesn't want to be there. Ian, normally people don't go back to their old place of work. Maybe a wee bit of truth in that. Pat saying we need the winter break and we need it fast. Again, we just need to get through these next 3 games and really just find a way to win them all. And then, I think things can be can be better after the winter break. We do have history with Rodgers doing that after the break, don't we, and kind of working a bit of magic during the break. I remember, I think his third season, we lost at Ibrox. First time we'd lost to Rangers in a good while, and we went away to Dubai, I think, and came back and went on a really good run, and they kind of collapsed a good bit, and we ended up pretty much having the league wrapped up by the time he left to go to Leicester. So we can do that again, and we have been in similar positions to this. That's another ray of sunshine.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Of course. And listen, no, you said it at the start. I think you said you're not conceding anything. It's just the mood music right now. It's not good, and you're reading the room, and you're not liking what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're reading. And I spoke to Ryan about it as well. Which, you're allowed to voice your concerns when the team aren't playing well. The entitled word gets thrown about and all that. None of us have ever felt entitled. You earn the right to win football matches, and at this moment in time, Celtic aren't earning the right to win football matches, and we're questioning why that is. We're questioning the manager, we're questioning the players, we're questioning those upstairs. It was ever thus, so it's not. We're not looking at it as if we're entitled and spoiled. You expect certain things from a certain team. You said last season you expected, let's go back to the rip-roaring, free-scoring, never-boring Celtic. They were exciting to watch and it was great. This season, I touched upon it, I think it was Friday, said the Jekyll and Hyde nature. You just don't know what Celtic are turning up now. And it's that uncertainty that's making you feel worried and concerned. I think that's fair comment, isn't it?
Yeah. But it feels almost like it's becoming more consistent, but consistently poor. I mean, as you say, there's not been many even kind of really good performances recently. But again, it can change, and there's a fair bit of positivity here. I think I got a comment in there mentioning me saying to cheer up basically, and saying that every big team in Europe goes through these moments. And again, look, I still, at this moment, would back this Celtic team to win the league. But I'm kind of on the brink a little bit with that, if I'm honest. And certainly if we don't get positive results in these next 3 games, I'll be feeling even more worried about it. Like, we need to see reasons to be positive from this team. Because I genuinely can't believe that many people here watching this video have genuine reasons to be positive about this team this season. Maybe about previous seasons, fair enough, we eventually got it right. Guys like Callum McGregor, Brendan Rodgers know what it is and how to win. But about this current season, I genuinely don't think there's been many positives. Maybe the fact that we won at Ibrox when we were in such a bad place at that stage is evidence. I think we'd gone 2 games without a win. That's evidence that the team still has the fight to win big games, and maybe we'll see that again at the end of the month. Fair enough, tick. That's a bit of positivity. But in general, we need to see reasons to be positive about this team, because if they're there, I'll be the first guy to start being positive. But right now, I just don't see that positivity anywhere, really.
But you mentioned yourself, didn't you? You've mentioned Ibrox, you mentioned the 6-0 game against Aberdeen, you mentioned the Feyenoord. These games have been more temporary respite than anything, haven't they? And you think that kind of imaginary corner's been turned, and it hasn't. Because they've just kind of reverted to type this season. There's not been a real... I know Celtic went, I think it was 17 league games without losing, but in those 17 league games, there wasn't really a consistent run where you said they were magic, they were on point for 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 games in a row. They were getting results, granted, but you always felt something was in the back lurking, that if it didn't go your way, that you could be in trouble. Like St Johnstone, they had to dig themselves out a hole that they'd created at St Johnstone, and the manager has admitted it for the first time in his managerial career. He's had to go ballistic. And letting you know that's how the teams come out. But they had a good quarter of that game, from 67 minutes up until 67 minutes. It didn't look like turning that game around. And it took a screamer from Callum McGregor and another screamer from Matt O'Reilly to dig you out a hole. You know, and you're not going to constantly dig yourself out of holes when you're playing like that. And they played like that against Rugby Park in the second half, and they played like that for the whole of the match on Saturday. Can't keep digging themselves out of holes that they themselves are digging themselves in, and that's what's more concerning. That's where the lack of positivity comes from, because you could turn around and say, well, we're pummeling teams, we're not scoring or whatever, but they're not even doing that.
Yeah, they've got time to get it right, as you say, and you know, they've got games coming up and a real opportunity over these next 3 games. In fact, it's 4 games before the break, isn't it? Because I'm sure we've got St Mirren, I want to say.
2nd, is it? Yeah, I think.
St Mirren away, which is kind of filling me with dread at the moment as well. But Bucky Thistle are filling me with a bit of dread at the moment as well. So I think everyone is. Yes, we'll just keep going as like, obviously I'm a bit kind of downbeat, a bit frustrated at the moment, but there's no idea of me giving up the title. I'm fully, up for this title race, and I still believe in this Celtic team. I just want to see more from them. That has to be the moment at the weekend there that we kick on from. It really has to be. They need to use that disappointment and going down 2-0 at home to Hearts. First time we've lost at home to Hearts in like 14 years, I think. We need to use that as the real low point for the season and kick on. Final comment, Tony, before we head off and I go and scream into a pillow or something.
Well, I think that was fat. Hearts' first win since 2009, the League Cup. And
yep. I think Michael Stewart might have scored in that game.
Yeah, and first league win at Celtic Park since 2007. So it's even longer in the league. So, yeah. It doesn't make for good reading. You're trying to be positive. The positive is that Celtic can rectify this. And like you, I still back this group of players to bounce back from the setback, but there has to be that has to be the cut-off point now, Hamish. There can be no more performances like that. It's unacceptable. And if you're worried about Livingston on Saturday as a Celtic supporter, that kind of tells you all about your current state of mind, doesn't it, basically?
Yeah.
As a Celtic supporter.
January's our get out of jail free card, hopefully.
Hopefully.
But hopefully before then, we can be still top of the league going into the break, and maybe a wee bit further clear as well if we can beat Rangers at the end of the year. But it's Livingston we're looking forward to now. We'll probably do that a bit more tomorrow. I think Ryan will be back possibly, and we'll hopefully have some more things to talk about. So thanks everyone for watching. Alright, are you not on?
I don't know. I think I might be off tomorrow. I haven't even looked at the rota. It's just
scares you away with all my negativity.
Honestly, just consumed by this football club. Like, you don't even know when you're working or not. But there you go. But yes, hopefully more positivity, Hamish.
Listen, it has to be done. It's a tough place we're in at the moment. We call it as we see it, but there's a long way to go. So time to get it right, Celtic. Right, we'll be back tomorrow. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll speak to you then.